The way I view trolling is the way I view subcultures. Um, I I see a role for people like in Menham in our society. Not necessarily the part where it's all fucktard you and this, but a role for in Menham in our society. And not a minor role, I mean, but a major role. But I also see a major role for people like Thou Art That. And, again, a major role, a world encompassing role, opinions on the whole shape of the world. I want these spheres of commentary of these different types of people to overlap because I'm going to use the different. Someone like me that's more situational that says, hey, some situations I'm going to be all, hey, la, and it's magic. And sometimes I'm going to be, oh no, practical, rigid, rational. Not that either of those people really are characterized that way, by the way. Not at all. That's not my actual analysis of those personalities. I'm just saying, in the big picture, that as a relativist, I see these different types of people in our society and that we borrow, we learn from them. Okay. Now, those of us that are situational, well, we run the risk of being victims of fashion, for example. We find some new thing and it's like, wow, this is cool and new, and everybody thinks it's great, let's go do that. And suddenly it's, oh, Britney Spears is great. That's our risk as people that are willing to shift a bit. But the risk of people that won't shift is that they're rigid or they don't know how to have fun. They can't change their perspective for a situation that's different, and so they just don't get to enjoy that situation. They don't know how to enjoy that thing. It gets in the way of enjoying your life. So it's respectable, but it's also respectable to be open-minded. But being open-minded, you might be wishy-washy. Fine, that's why it takes open-minded people and more closed-minded. It takes all of these different kinds. And I'm somewhat more sympathetic with the trolls than a lot because of this view. I see that trolling is connected in a sort of gradient. From at one end, it's like, fuck you, you're just annoying, you're worthless, all the way through to, wow, you're an amazing comedian. We need irreverent people and satirical people. That's where we get Bill Hicks or George Carlin. We need this kind of people. And I'm not going to cut off their tail if somehow they're connected and I don't understand exactly how they're connected. Maybe they look back at those totally irreverent, rude people and realize that that they're doing good or they see I don't know what the thing is. I just know that they're connected. And if that's the roots, I'm not just going to cut off the roots. But if I think that it's unhealthy, and in a lot of trolling examples I do, um, then, or to get out of the metaphor, that people just go too far, then, I can do something about it. I can try to heal that and address it, and to the degree that I can, I do. And, I've had people troll me that then stop trolling me. I've seen what it's like for people to make that transition. And sometimes when they're done trolling, they still have an irreverent and cynical point of view, but now they can go on to be an interesting, satirist, and not be negative. They can fit into this whole. And this is what I see. The society is a body made of organs. Of these groups are the organs in this society. And we need all of them. As far as I know, we can't take any of them out. The more intelligent we get about trying things in society, we find out which things you can take out, um, with the least amount of damage or danger. But pretty much the only way I think you're going to get there is to respect an individual's right to decide, what they accept. So you're never going to get rid of the organs where people voluntarily want to be a part of that organ and that way of looking at things because you have to start with the principle that allows them to do that. But that doesn't mean you can't get rid of any of the organs because you can get rid of the organs where people don't voluntarily join them. Okay? Slavery. You can get rid of slavery. Okay? And, there's blurry lines even with slavery. What about somebody volunteers to become a slave? That's indentured servitude, basically. Well, can you really do that? First of all, what? You had the right to decide and then suddenly you don't. Now you give that to someone else. You had, okay, so you had it and then you lost because you gave it away. Well, can you really give that away? I think that you can continually decide to do the action someone tells you, physical action someone tells you, but you can't just give them the ability to actually decide for you. You have to continually decide, it's my best interest to do what this person's telling me, you know. That's why you can't give them the right to tell you how to think, right? That's not going to work out. And so you can't really give your consciousness to someone else. So, you know, that's what I propose. We go around society stopping institutions of slavery, and we'll find that concepts of slavery are mixed in. You know, I think hierarchical command and control is part of the concept of slavery. And I'm forgetting that out of organizations, having more distributed organizations. But, you know, you need a command and control structure to have a military. Okay, so I believe in having it in the military. It's a practical thing. It's not so much a compromise on principle, it turns out, because you know what? I mean, what's the origin of slavery? War. Okay, we're still in a world of war and slavery, and we need to give up the slavery that we can before we give up the militaries. Because the idea, you know, is there will be a military around after the last war happens, and it just won't fight any more wars. And basically, if you take the military and war and remove slavery from it, you get something more like police. And that's what will happen. We'll be left with, you know, no war, but there'll still be crime on international scales from time to time, and we'll have an infrastructure, security infrastructure. And by getting the slavery out of it, we'll have something, you know, redeemable and redeemed, and something useful. So that's what I believe in. We take our society and all these groups. We can't get rid of anything that people voluntarily join up to. You can't, people are racist, but they don't act violently. You can't get rid of that. You can't get rid of that until those people don't want to do that anymore. But see, if we get rid of slavery, I think a lot of that will go away. Now, whatever the results of doing this, masking and getting out of the slavery, whatever people decide to do, if everybody turns into, you know, um, a bunch of piercings and shaves their heads and um, has sex only upside down, okay, fine, you know. If it's great artists arise, you know, fantastic. You know, if everybody decides to be plasticized, um, media droid damaged zombies, I'll be disappointed. But it'll still be interesting because, you know, really anything that would happen as a result of taking slavery away would be interesting. And I'd be fine with any of those eventualities. But I feel fairly confident that what would happen is we'd have all of the above, you know, and we would have different proportions and it would shift back and forth. And we'd have all kinds of subgroups, you know. There would be the intellectuals drinking tea, writing books nobody listens to, and there would be people writing blogs from, you know, their basement, full of really insightful things that really intelligent people were in rapt attention of. So, you know, we'll have all of the above, and it'll be up to you to find, you know, what you need to find for what you need and where you are in your personal evolution. And so this is what I want to do: get rid of the slavery, get rid of the partial slavery, get rid of the metaphorical slavery, the idea of slave and master, the idea that we're being governed, all of these, we have to get rid of the idea that there's someone running the wills of somebody else, and see what happens then, man. And I think it'll probably be pretty good. But whatever it is, let's get to that. If it's a problem, let's get to that problem and work from there. That's my suggestion. Luckily, you know, it works out as a way to not get all uptight about all the difference of opinion that I'm faced with and ideas that really, to me, obviously should be updated and people should see some of the things I've seen. But, you know I could be wrong too. But that is how I see it. That's why I believe what I believe. But I don't get stressed out when people have different views. I'm glad because, you know, a third party, it's good that they have, you know, my view and the other person's view overlapping to use the difference and the tension and the difference there to measure reality from their point of view. And then we're all in a structure where we see more reality because there's more reflections and more triangulations on what's going on. And I'm lucky because it's a view of where I get to see people different from me as helping me out, as being a part of a system that overall helps nurture and support my survival.